888-723-23.
LA filing number 16-7970.
WNXX Jackson, KNXX Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers. LA 21 12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. And plenty to do over the next couple of hours. Sharif Ishak going to be a little bit busy later this afternoon as there's breaking news down from New Orleans. So we'll talk to Sharif in 15 minutes. He's usually at 2:30. We'll go at 1:15 today. Glenn West, Go 24/7, will be with us in 30 minutes from right now. Field Yates has a mock draft out that's got some good news for Will Campbell in it. We'll discuss that. I want to talk about some of LSU baseball's freshmen and who could potentially have a big impact in their first season here in Baton Rouge. The Athletic polled some college baseball coaches, more of a survey actually, asked some questions. Paul Maneri was involved in it, Kevin O'Sullivan involved in it, Brian O'Connor was involved in it as well, Nick Nimigione from Kentucky, and some really interesting answers, I thought, and I'd like to kind of dive into that as we get closer and closer to baseball season, which will kick off, of course, on Friday. I'll be out at the box from noon to 2 on Friday, leading you right on up to first pitch at 2 o'clock between LSU and Purdue Fort Wayne. So if you're headed out to the box, come a little early. Come see me just outside of home plate, outside the stadium, right there in Champions Plaza. It's going to be a great day on Friday to talk some baseball and get ready to watch LSU for the first time for real. And we'll talk about a lot of that as we move forward today. We start the same way we start every single day with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
It is now officially official. The New Orleans Saints have, in fact, announced Kellen Moore as the next head coach of the franchise. As part of a release today, Gail Benson, the owner of the Black and Gold, said at the start of the interview process, it was important to find a head coach who was the right fit for the New Orleans Saints organization. Through the search process, it became clear that Kellen is the right person to help us reestablish a winning program and culture that our fans are accustomed to and have come to expect. I would also like to thank Coach Darren Rizzi for his service as interim head coach, leading our team this past season. I am truly grateful to him. So Kellen Moore is the guy. Now, we've talked about Kellen Moore a lot. Okay, so there's a lot that we've already covered clearly, but I think that now that it is official, it merits kind of a reset of said conversation. Once again, the process that the Saints went through from the outside was bumpy. There's no doubt about that. However, it doesn't mean that it was some sort of failure or Mickey Mouse operation. It just took a little longer than some of the other teams. There were folks that were interviewed that selected other places. And you got further down the list than some of us on the outside imagined that you would get to. But we don't really know what the feeling was inside the Saints organization or what they unearthed in the interview process. But we now know that Kellen Moore is the guy that's been hired. And I have done more reading on Kellen Moore in the last 4 days than I had as the process was kind of shaking out. I could always look at Kellen Moore's resume. You can look at the statistics that his offenses have produced. You can look at how long he played in the NFL and where he's been in his coaching career, and all that tells one story. But I think as I boil Kellen Moore down, ultimately, he is very much an X's and O's guy. Like, that is what his background is. That is what his strength is. Some guys get hired because that's their strength on one side of the ball and it's a complete failure. Some guys get hired because they're culture folks and it's a complete failure. Some guys get hired because they're X's and O folks and it's wonderful. And some guys get hired because they're culture guys and it's absolutely wonderful. It's obvious that Kellen Moore falls into the X's and O's category. There's a story that I read earlier today that talked about Kellen Moore going on a recruiting visit to Boise State at 17 years old, and he had a playbook that he created that he showed the coaching staff. That's not normal for 17-year-olds. Usually the visit is like, man, how cool is this locker room? Can we go out and have some fun tonight? Where do we get to live? Like that kind of, here's an offense I created at 17. And you go straight from being a backup quarterback in the NFL, and he was that for a significant amount of time. And I don't think Kellen Moore was a backup in the NFL because he had a rocket for an arm and was a great athlete. I think Kellen Moore was in an NFL offense and in a quarterback room because of his knowledge. We watched him throw the ball at Boise State, okay? It wasn't the most impressive thing you'd ever seen. But he won a ton of games because he understands the offense, and he piloted a team that was more talented than most of the teams they played against, but he piloted it. And then he stuck in the NFL for a while, and then immediately went right from the position room as a backup quarterback to the quarterback coach. Like, that to me is important, because that's not the Saints identifying this guy. That's the Cowboys identifying a guy that was already in their room. And then the Chargers bring him over, and then the Eagles bring him over, and obviously this year went exceptionally well in Philadelphia and ends with a Super Bowl. So you look at Kellen Moore as an X's and O guy. We don't know if he's a leader of men. We don't know how well he assembles a staff. Those are the things that you've got to work out when you bring him in. To go local, to go as a local angle, or even if you were to go to Darren Rizzi. If you were to go to Darren Rizzi, or when LSU hired Ed Ogeron as its head coach, you knew at that point, okay, who the coordinator is going to be. This is massive, because you've got guys who are leaders, guys that are respected in the locker room, but they're not coordinators, they're not play callers. So you got to go make that happen. And Ed Ogeron constantly had to kind of restock the coordinator shelves. Guys kept moving on, getting fired, next guy up, and that's a tough thing to do. You get Sean Payton in there, if he's your head coach, well, your offense is taken care of. End of discussion. But you got to make sure the culture's right as well. And there was a time there where even though the Saints had Sean Payton, the culture rotted. They had bad guys in that locker room, and you looked at a string of 7 and 9 seasons, and then they got rid of some of those guys, and they reestablished the culture at the end of Drew Brees' career, and they were good again. So for Kellen Moore, you've got the offense. He's going to run the offense. Now, who does he surround himself with? That becomes the next step in this process for the Saints. And you've talked about potentially bringing in Doug Nussmeier as an offensive coordinator. That's been rumored about. There are a number of guys that theoretically Kellen Moore could go hire as a defensive coordinator. Do you want to go get Ron Rivera to do that, who's been a head coach at multiple stops, has success under his belt at the NFL level? Do you want to go find somebody else? I think that it would be good for Kellen Moore to hire a defensive coordinator that's significantly older than him, that has potentially been a head coach. Maybe it is Brandon Staley, and maybe he does do that. A little switcheroo there, and maybe that works. But I think that hire is now the most important, because what you've got is the offense figured out with him. He brings that with him. And I like that. I personally, when I'm evaluating coaching hires, I like when you take care of one side of the ball. Whether that's, look, Sean Payton was phenomenal taking care of one side of the ball. Dennis Allen was a bust taking care of one side of the ball. It doesn't guarantee success. I get it. It's just my preference. I think it's easier to sustain success when one side of the ball is under the roof of that head coach. I think it's harder to go make that work with Dan Campbell or John Harbaugh, who doesn't necessarily have a side of the ball that they're an expert on, but they just know how to run the organization. That's just my opinion. So you bring in a guy that's got an X and O expertise. Who does he want to go get as a defensive coordinator? That is a huge, huge deal. And then the question is, how ready is Kellen Moore to get his hands dirty with this roster and what goes on in terms of player acquisition moving forward? We feel like Sean Payton had a pretty big say in what was going on personnel-wise. I don't know that Dennis Allen had quite as much pull. But the fact of the matter is that once Dennis Allen got in there, and especially once you tied $150 million up in Derek Carr, Like the flexibility that you had to make things happen from a free agent standpoint just wasn't really there. And the Saints don't use all their draft picks anyway. So it was such a short run that I'm not sure Dennis Allen's personnel decisions even mattered that much, because you were strapped by the salary cap. You just had a bunch of aging players. You decided that Derek Carr was going to be your big fish. Then he got hurt, and it was what it was. So now you got Kellen Moore. He's got a longer runway right now, and some of these guys are going to age out while he's here. And so what is he able to do from a decision-making standpoint to help restock those shelves? There's a lot of work to be done by Kellen Moore and this entire executive group, but it starts now. And I'll be curious to see, probably you would guess over the next 6 days that you would start to fill out a staff, especially with coordinators. You'll get an answer from Kellen Moore coming up in an introductory press conference later this week, or whether or not he's going to call plays. You would think he would. And you start to see how this thing's going to look. But we know one thing for certain. There are so many questions about Kellen Moore. There's one thing that is for certain that you're getting here. You're getting someone who's not from the Sean Payton tree, doesn't have any of the Dennis Allen experience, who is young and comes on the other side of the football. It is a complete 180 from what the Saints were. It was an organization that was trying to remain with continuity and keep some of the same folks in there from the same system that had been humming since 2006, and now you've broken off completely from that. That's the only certainty. Whether this works or not, I can't tell you. But I can tell you that it's going to be different and things are going to change. And that's really all you could hope for, with the understanding that there are no sure things in coaching hires. This is the direction the Saints are going to go. We'll see if it works. What we feel like we know is that they've got some ways to go before they're back toward the top of the NFC. But it's got to start now. That's Kellen Moore, and that's our Genesis opening drive here on this Tuesday. All right, let's talk some more Saints. Sharif Ishak down there in New Orleans at WDSU. He's going to jump aboard coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends March 5th, 2025.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. service Chevrolet Cadillac. Our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Glenn West talking Tigers 15 minutes from right now, but let's keep things with the New Orleans Saints, specifically the city of New Orleans. Sharif Ishak down there covering things for WDSU. Sharif, how was your Super Bowl week?
It was lovely. I got to see you in person. So
You did?
That made the week great.
You had on a stellar suit.
Which day was that?
It was
Tuesday.
like, it
That
was the reddish
mauve.
peaches, yeah, whichever. What were we calling that?
Mauve.
Mauve?
M-A-U-V-E.
Okay, I'm unfamiliar with that color term, but I saw it, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And for those that are smarter than me and know all their colors, they'll know what you were talking about. But yeah, it looked good. Did you go to the game? What was your assignment there?
Yeah, I went to the game. It was fun, man. Getting up there just to hang out and chill and watch football and, do social media stuff for the station and, Facebook, Twitter. Use my eyes just to watch football. That was just beautiful. Like, masterwork by Kellen Moore, the new Saints head coach.
Wow.
And watch Kendrick Lamar. It was just me enjoying a 3.5 hour beatdown.
Yeah, it wasn't a great game, but I feel like the city of New Orleans put on a bit of a show. I thought the week went really, really well, and hopefully the game's back sooner than the last gap, which was far, far too long. All right, we buried the lead too long. Let's talk about Kellen Moore being hired by the New Orleans Saints. It is official. You got to watch his offense, as you mentioned, with your own two eyes there. What do you think about this hire now that the dust has settled?
Logan, going outside of the building is such a great thing, man. Getting away from the Sean Payton tree or even the New Orleans Saints tree of coaches was the right move. So it's time to be a little bit comfortable at being uncomfortable. That's, Mickey Loomis said that the last two off seasons after the season ended, and I think, they did that. I really think, getting a 36-year-old coach who will now be the youngest current head coach in the NFL, who's a young, innovative offensive mind, is what they needed, man. Look, Hunt, they needed a breath of fresh air. They needed something different. They needed to get away from everything that's, happened in the last 3 or 4 years and when they haven't made the playoffs. So, a step in the right direction. I mean, yes, he's not bringing Saquon and Jalen Hurts in the offensive line and Vic Fangio's defense and Vic Fangio. But look, he gets to put his own, fingerprints on this. He gets to build from the bottom to the top and gets to do exactly what he wants with his coaching staff and his player personnel. So this is good. I know like we criticized and we were critical of Mickey Loomis in the interview process when you saw Aaron Glenn and Joe Brady say thanks but no thanks. I'm not coming in for that in-person interview. And maybe it worked out well. Time will tell, but maybe this is meant to be for them to get, someone who's a hot name who won a Super Bowl championship over, a team that was dominating the league the last 3 years.
You said something in that answer that I want to pin you down on. You said that he's going to have his say in player personnel. In your opinion, how much say did Sean Payton have with this front office? How much say did Dennis Allen have with this front office? And how much say will Kellen Moore have with this front office? Is there a change there, or is it all the same?
Let me be open and honest with you about how things go with the Saints and Mickey Loomis. Mickey Loomis gave Sean Payton everything he wanted. Mickey Loomis gave Dennis Allen everything he wanted. He wanted Derek Carr, he wanted his coaches, and he let him go get them. I 100% believe that Kellen Moore will get the same type of treatment from Mickey Loomis because that's just how they operate. They give their coaches every chance to win. He gave Dennis Allen every chance to win until Gale stepped in and said, look, that's enough. We got to fire him. It's not working. He gave his coaches every chance, the player personnel and coaching staff, NFL draft, to do anything to win. So Kellen Moore is going to get that same respect.
That's a good answer, and I think if that's the case, I have guarded optimism. I think that there needs to be a significant shift in the way the organization is run, and you've seen hints of that over the last 12 months, but we need to see more of it. I guess we'll talk about draft and all that kind of stuff down the road, but the first thing Kellen Moore has got to really do is build a staff out. Do you have any thoughts on the direction, whether or not he'll call plays? If there's a defensive coordinator in mind, do you have any thoughts on what a staff could look like?
Look, I mean, Doug Nussmeier is the first that comes to mind that off that staff and comes with him as his either OC coach and offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach, or just one of the two. So I see him. I mean, he was, the tie there. He was there after the game enjoying the Super Bowl title with his family. After the game, Garrett was on the side. We captured him on camera with the entire family. So I think he'd be one name. Saw Adam Schefter tweet, Brandon Staley. They worked together in Los Angeles when he was the Chargers OC and Staley was the head coach. He'd bring him on as his defensive coordinator. He's probably the lead candidate to be the DC here in New Orleans. And then everything else is up in the air. I mean, that's, you start there and you let them build from there. But I think those are the two hot names. Big names, at least. I'm not going to say hot names, but I mean, look, Brandon Staley would be a very good defensive coordinator. I think that's, that's his wheelhouse. He's a good DC. So you bring him in, and then boom, that's a start. And you bring in Doug Nussmeier, and that's a start. And Kellen Moore's going to call the plays. I mean, Sean Payton calls the plays. He's always called the plays. I think Kellen's not going to just give up his play calling duty as a head coach.
You would think. And we'll see. I'm sure he'll be asked about that when the introductory press conference does, in fact, happen. What do you think the expectation is of Kellen Moore in the short term here? Is there a bit of a runway? Do you feel like there's got to be massive roster overhaul before there can be any expectation? What do you think about what the expectation is for him?
I think the expectation is, look, this is going to be like a slow build. This isn't just going to happen overnight. I mean, it ain't going to be like the Commanders with Jaden Daniels. It isn't going to go from absolutely awful, horrible situation to being one win away from the Super Bowl. This is going to take some time because you're not getting a Jaden Daniels in the NFL draft. You don't have a high enough pick, and even the quarterbacks in this draft aren't that great. Let's just call it what it is. I mean, maybe we don't know something about Jackson Dart, then that might make him good, and they might take a chance with him, and I don't know where, maybe in the second round. But look, they have to build from within the draft. It's going to take some time. Maybe they have like another down year, 5, 6, 7 win season this year, and then after that they free up money in the salary cap, and then it gets better and better. He's able to build it in 2 years, and then say by 26 or even 27 they're looking really good and they're contending again. I mean, it's just how it is. The roster is the aging roster. You have some young players, but you have a lot of your key players are in the 30s. So that's just something they have to figure out. Is Derek the quarterback? My opinion is he probably doesn't want Derek as the quarterback, and maybe they have to live it out for one more year, or maybe they just cut him straight up. He wasn't here during Super Bowl week. We saw no Derek Carr during the entire Super Bowl week when we saw everybody else here in terms of their team captains, and maybe he had something important going on, maybe a personal situation, but we did not see him. So maybe the writing's on the wall. Maybe they said, hey, don't parade yourself around the city of New Orleans during Super Bowl week because they're probably going in a different direction. I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking out loud. But I just think that he's, it's going to take a year, maybe 2, to clean this up a little bit.
Is there any chance that the team that we saw the first 2 weeks at full strength before McCoy got hurt and then Carr got hurt and then everybody else got hurt is better than we think?
The problem is, Hunt, it's they always get hurt.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a big problem.
We can't. It's a big problem every year. That's because it's just the roster is just aging. I mean, that's what Father Time does. A lot of your players, it feels like even the young ones are getting hurt too. I mean, it's not sustainable. I mean, like it was great for the first 2 weeks, but we never thought that was going to be sustainable for 17 games. That success is there, but I just don't see it there with this roster for 17 games. It just doesn't. It's not sustainable. They have to make some sort of changes. I mean, you can't re-rack this entire team again this year and tell me that you're going to get the same results from week 1 and 2 for 17 games.
All right.
It's not happening because you get hurt.
Just wanted to toss it in there. Sharif Ishak's our guest, WDSU down in New Orleans. We know DeJounte Murray, torn Achilles, he is done. Now we find out in the last hour that Herb Jones likely done for the season as well. You saw Brandon Ingram traded. I mean, this is the end, right? I mean, they got to do some significant things over the course of the next couple of months, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some difficult decisions for Gail Benson once again. Are they going to make a move on David Griffin? I mean, it feels like it almost pretty much, feels like Willie Green's tenure might be coming to an end here once the season comes to an end. But Willie's also Willie isn't the only one in the crosshairs of this. I mean, David Griffin.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had his chances. He's put, he's been in charge of making these moves and putting this team together, and he's dealing with historic injuries. But after a while, historic injuries can't be an excuse anymore. So he's probably on a really hot seat. And if he's on the hot seat, Willie Green's on a hot seat, and so many other people in the front office that he hired are probably going to be in a hot seat. The unfortunate part, Hunt, is that they've done a really good job in the NBA developing, and that might be the thing that keeps the front office together. I mean, look, Yves Meesy's been good, Herb's been good, Trey's been good, Jose's been good. Since Zion plays, he's been really good. So, their players are there, but it just seems completely off when they're all on the court together. They're just not winning. And to be 12-41, they're on track to have the worst record in franchise history, and that's a fireable offense. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, it's just, it's crazy that the conversation's the exact same with the Saints and Pels. Like, well, they're awful. Everybody's hurt. Who do we blame for that? And then you just kind of chase your tail at that point. But it's not great times down there in New Orleans, but hopefully Kellen Moore brings some optimism, some excitement, and a change of pace there in the black and gold. Sharif, thanks for making some time for us today, man. We'll talk next week.
You got it, hon. Anytime, buddy.
Sharif Ishak, WDSU, down there in New Orleans. Kellen Moore, next head coach of the New Orleans Saints. We find out if there's an introductory press conference scheduled or anything. We'll certainly let you know about it, but the Saints have announced it officially via their social media release with Gail Benson quotes as well. So it's official, just a matter of getting him down to New Orleans and getting a suit on him and seeing when they can get that press conference taken care of. When we come back, we'll change the conversation over to LSU. We'll do a little basketball, probably a little bit more baseball. That's with Glenn West coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com is the website. Every new purchase of a Genesis vehicle at Genesis of Baton Rouge comes with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Every single new purchase at Genesis of Baton Rouge comes with 3 years of complimentary maintenance, and that complimentary maintenance can be valet maintenance, meaning they come to you, they handle it remotely, and they bring your car right back to you. It's just part of the experience of being a Genesis driver. Every single vehicle in the Genesis line got the IIHA Safety Award. Some of them were top safety awards plus. It's safe, it's stylish, it's comfortable, it's got all the bells and whistles that you will need. And when I say luxury vehicle and you immediately pull back and go, I can't really pay for that, you might be surprised. Check it out. They're on Airline Highway at Pico or online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Genesis of Baton Rouge.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you. Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Hope your work week's off to a good start. We still got plenty to do here on this Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Field Yates mock draft we'll get to here in about 15 minutes. Where's Will Campbell? Could be good news for him. We'll do that coming up next. Glenn West, senior writer at Go 24/7, with us each and every Tuesday, joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Glenn, how we doing?
Doing well, Hunt, and fired up for this weekend. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty fired up for it.
In fact, you do know about me. And so you do know that I'm fired up. But yeah, that's going to be, I'm excited. We're going to do my show from there on Friday, and then I'll be at the box for the game on Friday. Going to be sitting with y'all in the press box. What's the Coke Zero situation in the press box? I'm concerned about this.
I think they stick pretty much to Coke, Diet Coke, and Sprite. So you might have to smuggle in your own Coke Zero.
I got Bill Franquez's cell phone number. I may have to see if I can make a call there. We need to get some zeros in there. I can't just be drinking 150 calorie Cokes all day, all weekend. That's more than, and I'm not going to refrain. I'm not going to sit there and drink water. I need something that tastes really good. So we got to get some zeros stocked up in there. I am excited about it. Let's talk basketball briefly first, and then we'll do a little bit of baseball as well. Look, it's not good when you lose by 31 to Texas at home. It's not good when you go on the road and lose to Georgia by 19 points. It's not good when you lose an 11-point lead with 3 minutes to go. Which of those do you think stung the most?
They're just so different that I'd have to say probably the one on Saturday stung probably the most, just because of how well the team was playing for 37 minutes of that game. They really controlled, I think, the physicality and the tempo and really everything. I mean, they were shooting the ball pretty well. They were not turning the ball over. They were, controlling the glass, I think, for the most part as well. And those were all the things that have kind of plagued this team this year when they've been losing by, double digits in SEC play. So to have your best performance there for 35, 36 minutes of conference play, and then to just fumble the bag there in the last 3 minutes, it's really quite devastating, I think. And, just in terms of morale and how you kind of come back from that. And, I think that's very, very difficult as you look in the short view mirror here for this particular team. And then you got to ask yourself the big long-term questions as well, and just kind of where this program is going, what they need to do to get the kind of talent in here that can compete at the top of this conference. And I think we're still a long ways from figuring that out.
Could you sense that it was going south the last 3 minutes? I mean, at what point did you look up and go, they may not be able to get to the finish line?
Yeah, I mean, after the Corey Chess technical foul, to be quite honest with you, they give up 4 free throws there without having to chew up any clock, and it's all of a sudden a 10-point game down to a 2-possession game with a little under 3 minutes to go, and you're like, this is a brand new ball game, and they just did not make the plays down there at the end. Cam Carter had a shot blocked at the rim. That was the only shot they were able to get off in the final 3 minutes because they kept turning the ball over and missing free throws in the clutch. So, there was you have to really try to lose that kind of a game, and LSU they checked all the boxes in terms of really completely losing that game and losing control of it very quickly.
We've sat in those press conferences post-game and heard these players consistently talk about how good their team chemistry is and how they've got each other's backs and how much they enjoy being around each other. And I'm sure all of that is completely true, but this has got to test that. And I just wonder, especially a bunch of guys that have been here for 1 year, what these last 6 weeks are going to look like.
Yeah, we're going to find out. And, I honestly don't have a good answer for you. I mean, that was as rough of a loss as I can remember of an LSU basketball team having, just in terms of you weren't really playing for much except for pride at this point in the season and just trying to string together some consistent performances and show that this program can get back on an upswing and beat some of these highly ranked teams. And, to just cough it up the way that they did. I mean, Cam Carter is usually about as smiles and happy-go-lucky as they come, and he was pretty, mellow and just not, didn't give us a whole lot there in that post-game press conference. So he's gonna have to be a leader of this thing. Jordan Sears is as well. Damian Collins, some of these older guys who have played a lot of college basketball are going to have to really step up and try to get this thing, for the younger guys a little bit better in terms of the consistency with which they're playing at the end of games.
Think they got a chance to go on the road and get one? They're not playing great teams in Arkansas and Oklahoma, but they are on the road.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we kind of looked at this middle part of the schedule here as one of the more gettable parts, and they were very competitive against Ole Miss, and they were not very competitive against 2 below 500 teams in Texas and Georgia. So it's very hard to go in here and say that they have a chance. Like if I had to put a percentage on it, I would probably lean towards 35-40% that they go on the road and get this win. But they need some positive vibes badly, and because you just can't allow this thing to really completely blow up in your face and wind up a 1 or 2 win team in conference play and not expect there to be a raging inferno at the end of this season.
Yeah, that's kind of the issue you face with LSU basketball at this point in the calendar, because everybody starts to look toward Alex Box Stadium, and that's where we'll be coming up on Friday afternoon. We talked about a number of positions on this team, but let's talk catcher. Where do you feel in terms of the confidence, and who do you expect to see over the course of this weekend over 3 games?
Yeah, I think we'll see probably as many as 3 guys, honestly. I mean, I think Luis Hernandez is probably the one that makes the most sense to get the start on Friday, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised if midway through that game or on the Saturday game we get a lot of Cade Arambidi. I think he's going to play some. He's got a really nice bat for a freshman. I mean, he's been really hitting the ball hard going back to the fall. And then you got Blaze Priester back there as well, who's a JUCO signee that they just got in after originally he signed with LSU a few years ago too. So he's been at the JUCO level. So I would imagine that they rotate those 3 guys in, and that's kind of the pathway I think that they go for at catcher. I mean, I really think there's going to be a rotation there for most of the season, and unless somebody can really kind of claim that spot and make it really difficult to take out of the lineup.
You think Gavin Guidry is going to start any games this year?
I don't know. I think there's certainly a case to be made for him to start. I mean, I think he's looked pretty good here in the spring, and he's been able to uptick his velocity a little bit on the fastball. He's got really great control of that curveball, and the slider mix is really nice as well. I think he's going to be he's too end of game mindset to me. Like, he's just somebody that you want out there in the 8th and 9th innings. He was really lights out for LSU down the stretch of last season, and I just think he's somebody that you can always turn to go get the last 4 or 5 outs of a game and feel pretty confident that he's going to be able to do that. And he's entering his junior season now. He's got that role pretty much defined for him over the previous couple seasons, and I think he'll thrive in it. So I would probably still lean more towards an end-of-game role for Gavin, but if there's a spot start that, in the midweek maybe, just to see if he can do it, I would certainly be open to that early in the season.
You want to call your shot on who hits the second most home runs on this roster? I think we'll cede first to Jared Jones, but you got an idea who could hit the second most?
Yeah, I'll probably go. That's a good question. I'm going to go Jake Brown. I think Jake Brown's going to have a big-time season. I know he's probably going to rotate in some at right field. I think he probably will settle in on days that he doesn't play in right field out for the DH spot, and I think he's got some power to him. Like, I think he's added some good weight to this offseason, and I think he's going to be one of LSU's better power hitters from the left side. That was a takeaway with the first pitch banquet. I know you were there, and the team walked out, and I saw Jake Brown walk out, and I was like, well, he's clearly bigger than he was last year. And we'll see if that does. He struggled against SEC pitching last year, but he had never focused 100% on hitting before until now. So we'll see if there's a payoff there. Defensively, just kind of big picture, how do you feel about this LSU team? I have my concerns about catcher and shortstop, quite frankly, but that's where I am. What about you? It's a mixed bag for me too. I would say probably the entire left side of the infield. I would throw third base in there too, just because they're doing so much mixing and matching right now with Milam and Braswell, and just you don't know which side they're gonna or which spot they're ultimately gonna end up in. I think I have my suspicions that it'll probably end up being Milam at shortstop in the long term, but I think there's going to be some growing pains there as they try to figure out what the best combination is in the infield. And I'm going to keep a close eye on Tanner Reeves. I know some people that maybe don't follow the program all that closely might not know about him, but he's been just lights out in the infield and also at the plate for really the last several months going back into the fall. I think if there's any kind of slump or struggles that happen in the infield with any of these guys, he's somebody that can come in and really produce and play at a high level. So I'm super excited to see what he looks like if he ever gets the opportunity to kind of weasel his way into that lineup on a consistent basis. Is there a non-starting pitcher that you might have your eye on this weekend to see when he gets into a game? Not that we know who's going to start any of the games, but we have a reasonable feeling, I think. I think for me, there's two. William Schmidt, the freshman. I mean, I got a chance to see a couple of his scrimmage performances, and that curveball, man, it's an MLB level pitch already. I mean, he goes 82 miles an hour on that curveball, and it has some serious dip to it. And I think he's going to be a really, really fun piece to watch here in his first year. And then the second one is going to be Connor Ware. I don't know that he'll be the starter this weekend, but if he's not, he's going to pitch a lot of meaningful innings for LSU at the end of games and in the middle of games. And I'm super excited to see what he looks like here early in the season because he's been arguably LSU's best pitcher going back to the fall. We'll see you at the box on Friday, Glenn. Appreciate it, man. All right. Thanks, Hunt. Glenn West, senior writer at Go 24/7. Team coverage, baseball, basketball, football, recruiting. They got you covered over there at Go 24/7. Glenn's with us each and every day, every Tuesday here on the Hunt Palmer Show. He said something that it kind of got me thinking because I can come up with the lineup. If you've got a right-handed pitcher on the mound, you could have Milam at short, who hits left-handed in that situation. Reeves at second, who hits left-handed in that situation. Well, he's not a switch hitter. He's just a left-handed hitter, period. And then you can have an outfield that has all three left-handers with Derek Curiel, who hits left-handed. You could put him in center field. Jake Brown can play center field as well. Then you got Ashton Larson and Josh Pearson. So you've got three outfielders, a DH, and two infielders. That's 6 left-handed bats you could potentially put in there. And that's not like stretching it. Like putting Josh Pearson in the lineup is not like, oh, he's just left-handed. Like he is a starting caliber player. Ashton Larson nearly hit 300 in SEC play last year. Like that, no, he did hit 300 in SEC play last year. Stephen Milam was a star as a freshman last year. Tanner Reeves, again, junior college, but we think is a pretty good bat in there. Derek Curiel, everybody thinks is going to be a star. So that would be taking Danny Dickinson and taking Chris Stanfield out of the lineup, which I don't know if Jay Johnson wants to do that or not, but I'm just
just spitballing here as he started to go through left-handed. And I was like, wait, you could get 6 left-handed bats in there. Your catcher's not going to be left-handed. Jarrett Jones is not coming out of the lineup, and then Braswell's not left-handed. So those would be your 3 that would hit right-handed at that point. And theoretically, I guess you could do some shifting around with that. So it's they've got a lot of depth. It doesn't have the star power at this point that you would have in 2023 entering the season, because you knew you had some superstars on that team. But you hope that the depth shines through in the way that Gavin Dugas and Cade Beloso did late that season, and in the way that Josh Pearson did late in that season. You knew you had Tommy White, and Travinsky made some strides that year, and those are the kind of development stories that you're looking for on this team. You don't have the star power that you had with Cruz and White and Morgan going into that year, but it's still a team that looks to be pretty good on paper, and we'll see them for the first time coming up on Friday. I want to talk a little bit of baseball, specifically the freshmen on this team at 2 o'clock. There's also a coaches survey from The Athletic I want to get into in the second hour as well. When we come back, we'll close out this hour with an NFL mock draft. Where is Will Campbell? It looks pretty good for him, and we'll look at the Saints side of it too. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is that website. I tell you this story usually about once a week. I was talking with Jonathan Carbo and his team over there about one of the moves that they made. And this is just not too deep into the insurance weeds, but you kind of get the picture. This is how they win business. This is why folks trust them. Because they had a prospective client who was currently insured, had 4 locations for his business, and had a general liability policy that sat over all the locations for $1 million. And instead, they took that and they put $1 million on all 5 locations, so $5 million in the aggregate in coverage for general liability. And it costs the same. That's the kind of thing you don't want your agent to miss. You don't want your broker to miss. Highland Insurance Group's an independent brokerage. They've got access to dozens of markets. They'll make sure your business is put in the right place from an insurance perspective. If you're a little concerned that you might not know what's in your policy or what you could be covered for, or more importantly, what you're not covered for, what exclusions may exist, they can help you at the Highland Insurance Group. If you're a business owner, give them a call or check them out online at HighlandIG.com. HighlandIG.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime. At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends March 5th, 2025.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Savor game day platters and snacks, plus drink specials at 1717 Kitchen and Cocktail.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Wrapping up hour number 1 here, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Field Yates with a mock draft that came out today because, look, there's 2 days after the Super Bowl, you got to have a mock draft. The NFL's not going to sit on the sidelines here, folks. The NFL is going to get into the news cycle as quickly as they possibly can. And while, of course, that's not an NFL decision to have a Field Yates do that, it's just the nature of this calendar that the NFL always manages to stay relevant. And this is something that we're going to be talking about a significant amount. One, with what the Saints do, and two, with what happens with the LSU players. And as I look at this mock draft, and I've actually paid attention to a few mock drafts over the last couple of weeks, and it feels like there's not this surge of quarterbacks toward the top. Like, obviously last year, the first 3 picks off the board were quarterbacks. Like, that drives everyone at every other position backwards. Even if you feel like there are edge rushers or offensive tackles or corners that are better players than the quarterbacks, the teams come up to take the quarterbacks. So it feels like this year, while there's not a huge rush on quarterbacks, it could be beneficial to some of the players at other positions. And one of those guys is Will Campbell. Will Campbell in this mock draft that Field Yates put together is tab number 4 to the New England Patriots. Yates writes, there's a case for taking the best player available, but my own board, that would be Mason Graham from Michigan, would not be a bad fit. But offensive tackle is a massive need for the Patriots, and Campbell is my highest graded player at the position in this class, number 6 overall. So Yates has Campbell at 6 overall going 4th here. And the important thing to note is that there's only one quarterback in front of him, Cam Ward going to the Giants at number 3. You don't get the next quarterback until Shedeur Sanders at number 6. Now, I don't know what the deal is going to be with Shedeur Sanders and what puppet master game Deion's going to play. If I was Deion, I don't know that I would want Shedeur going to play for the Raiders organization. But this all impacts Will Campbell and where he may end up. And you've seen a little bit more consistently over the last month, Will Campbell being picked ahead of Kelvin Banks. I feel like that was flipped about a month ago, and for some reason, maybe it's the film study that they have done. I know Banks got banged up in December. I doubt that has a ton to do with it. I'm not sure, and I think that that'll be a decision that these teams have to make. If you're going to equate it to other LSU players in the past, like we constantly saw Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors tossed back and forth last year. Just what team likes which one. It only takes one team to make one pick. And I think Kelvin Banks and Will Campbell will be right at the top of a lot of boards. Josh Simmons from Ohio State will also be involved there. Field Yates has all 3 of those players going in the top 11 of this draft, but he has Campbell going first at number 4. And like you've seen some folks forecast Campbell as a guard. Maybe the arm length is a bit of an issue. But what I can tell you about Will Campbell, and I'm sure I'll repeat this a bunch over the course of the next 2 months with the draft coming up, is like he's got good measurables. He's got a ton of experience. Nobody starts every game for 3 years at left tackle in the SEC. It just almost never happens. And Campbell did that. The production was excellent, especially in the pass game. And when he gets into those interview rooms, he's going to absolutely crush it. Absolutely crush it. Because he's smart, he's confident, he's thoughtful, and he's gonna be a home run in those meeting rooms. I know that there are a lot of LSU fans that still don't feel great about the August quote that we're going to run the ball, and what's not a secret, we're not trying to hide it from anybody. We're going to run it, and then LSU couldn't run it for 12 weeks. But that's just a guy that's confident. And that's not going to knock him down a few pegs on anybody's draft board at this point. I think that Will Campbell's going to do very little moving forward. You did not see him participate in the bowl game. Did not go over to the Senior Bowl where Mason Taylor, a fellow junior, was there. I think you're going to see him kind of sit on the sidelines because what he needed to do has kind of been done. Like, the tape is there, the measurables are there, injury history is none, and here he is. And I think to see him go all the way at number 4, where we have never seen an LSU offensive lineman in that stratosphere in the NFL draft, it tells you how good a prospect he is and really how good a player he was for 3 years at LSU. He and Emory Jones are always going to be lumped in with the running game effort this year, I think. That's just all anybody, I think, cares about because LSU struggled so mightily to run the football. But the skill set those two guys have is going to be recognized by NFL teams, and they're going to be high draft picks. I don't think Emory is a first-round pick, but I think he's going to go pretty quickly there in that second round. And if Field Yates is right, Will Campbell's going to be in that green room for about 20 minutes before he's pulled up to the stage. So that's a cool thing for Will Campbell. Looks like he's mocked right here, number 4 overall to the New England Patriots. That would be a heck of a landing spot for the Fun Row native. That's it for hour number 1 here on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We'll pause for Sports Center. I know who the opening day shortstop's going to be. Jay Johnson said it. I will tell you who that's going to be coming up next. Hour number 2, the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. your law firm for a lifetime.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
When it comes to choosing energy for your family and your home, make the smart choice with natural gas. You can count on efficient and affordable natural gas to keep you comfortable and reduce your environmental impact to help protect our planet. Together, we're fueling our energy future. Atmos Energy.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. This has been a pretty good past few days for Kellen Moore. On Sunday, he won his first Super Bowl as the Eagles' offensive coordinator, and today he was officially hired as the new head coach of the Saints. New Orleans enters this offseason $60 million over the cap, and that's only one issue for Moore to deal with, explains ESPN's Jeff Saturday.
Well, I think he's a good fit, but I think this is a tough job. I don't care who took the job, right? They're well over the cap. They got cap issues. They have aging veteran issues. You could consider their quarterback situation kind of in flux as well with Derek Carr, and does Kellen Moore want that? So you're going to want to move forward. So there's a lot there.
Philadelphia officials are expecting 1 million people in the city on Friday for a parade honoring the Super Bowl champion Eagles. NBA recently acquired Brandon Ingram, agreed to a 3-year, $120 million extension with the Raptors, reports ESPN's Shams Charania and Bobby Marks. It keeps him out of free agency this summer. Baseball, lefty Clayton Kershaw is at the Dodgers facility today playing catch. He and the team have agreed on a new contract pending a physical. This will be his 18th season in Los Angeles.
Hey, it's Evan Cohen. Coming up Wednesday, the great Mel Kiper Jr. joins us at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and I'll ask him if there's a quarterback in the draft this year that could have the same impact as Jalen Hurts. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. The Athletic polled 8 college baseball coaches, not anonymously. Their names are right there, and their answers were attached to their names. It had some interesting questions that they asked, and LSU players are involved. Some of the best position players you've ever seen, best pitchers you've ever seen, best current player in college baseball. Paul Maneri was asked. Kevin O'Sullivan was involved as well. So I'm going to go through some of those answers coming up in 15 minutes from right now. If you were here at the end of hour number 1, I teased that Jay Johnson has announced his starting shortstop and third baseman for Friday. He did so with Mike Scarborough and Kendall Rogers on Tiger Bait's YouTube channel. It was brought to my attention, and I looked it up in the break, and yeah, he sure did, which it shocked me that he did that, because we know that Jay Johnson keeps things close to the vest. You don't ask him about potential starting pitchers. Don't ask about injuries. He just plays things very close to the vest. And I have listened to Jay Johnson on the Sidewinder podcast this morning on the way to work, and D1 Baseball's podcast. I've listened to him on The Advocate. I've heard him on Off the Bench. I've heard him in press conferences. I've listened to just about all the speaking that Jay Johnson has done, including the first pitch banquet and whatever he said at the Rotary Club. I've heard it all, and I haven't heard him name a starting pitcher or a shortstop or a third baseman anywhere. So I was surprised to see that he did it on Tiger Bait's YouTube channel, but he did. Kendall Rogers asked, hey, how do you think that's going to shake out? And he said, what's going to happen? And now that I've held you hostage for a minute and a half, I'll let you know that Michael Braswell will be the third baseman and Stephen Milam will be the shortstop on Friday. This is where things have been trending the entire fall, because he said that, meaning Jay Johnson said that he wanted the best defender to play shortstop. and then he has consistently referred to Stephen Milam as the best defender. So he never said Stephen Milam's the shortstop, but if you were able to connect those two dots, that's where this was headed all along. I have given you my thoughts on this. I'll briefly do it again. I think Stephen Milam is going to be a good shortstop. I think he's a little bit limited in terms of arm strength. He does have really good quickness. He does have really good hands. And I don't think he's going to be a detriment to LSU in any way. But I think he's a little bit limited in what he can do. So I think he's going to be fine, not elite defensively. I think Michael Braswell, once again, will be fine. I think he can be just about as good as Tommy White. Now, y'all remember, Tommy White had a very, very good defensive year last year. Made a ton of plays on the move coming forward. Made some plays to the backhand side as well. Did a good job ranging to his left. Like he played a good third base. He wasn't really able to play a good third base his first year at LSU as a sophomore in 2023 because he got hurt the first inning of the first game. Like his shoulder was hurt the whole season. And that's a big deal. If you were to come to LSU games in 2023, especially late in the season, he wasn't even taking infield. Like the team would be out there taking infield and he'd be just standing off to the side. I mean, he was in pain. And it didn't really affect him from a production standpoint as far as hitting goes. I can't speak to how he was feeling, but he didn't play a lot of defense. Well, he was able to get that surgery, repair everything in July after the College World Series, and he came back last year as a junior and really did a good job at third base. And I think Braswell can do a good job at third base. Braswell is not what you would consider quick. And I think of third basemen oftentimes as having quick hands to make a play on a hot shot at the hot corner. But he does have pretty good hands. He's got enough arm. It's not a cannon, but he's got enough arm. And I think LSU will be okay at shortstop and third base. I don't think elite. I would take Josh Smith at either spot defensively. I would take Alex Bregman at either spot defensively. I would take Jordan Thompson, quite frankly, at shortstop. I would certainly take Austin Nola. There are a lot of guys that I've seen that I would probably prefer playing there. And I think Stephen Milam is a professional second baseman. You just don't see a ton of 5'7" shortstops. But at this level, with what you're asking your shortstop to do, I think Stephen Milam will be fine. I think Michael Braswell will be fine. So that's my take on the left side of the infield. Not awesome. I think they'll be fine. I want to talk about the freshmen on this baseball team here pretty briefly, not going in depth on all of them, but I really do think this is a very, very good freshman class, and it's not overly big. At this point, let me make sure my numbers are right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 freshmen. Like, that's a low number. You usually don't have a lot of seniors in college baseball, and you do have a lot of freshmen who generally move on. But as you understand, LSU's going to go to the transfer portal pretty heavily, and there are roster limitations, so you're going to take less freshmen. That's just the way the math works out. But I think this freshman class has a lot of really good pieces. You start with the two guys who are most likely to start, and that's, of course, Derek Curiel in left field and Cade Arambidi at catcher. You've heard about these two guys a ton by now, so I'm not going to overload you with that. Just know that I think it's likely Curiel hits near the top of the lineup from the start of this thing. He may be the best pure hitter on the team at this point, which is not something you say about a lot of true freshmen, but you're getting a lot of freshman Bregman, freshman Cruz vibes here. And again, those are two of the greatest players to ever wear the uniform. And I'm not telling you Curiel's going to be a 3-time All-American. I'm telling you he could be. Like, he's going to be really, really good. I was thrilled to see him line a home run into the seats in right field back on Saturday. Arambidi is going, I think, to be eased in a little bit. Wouldn't surprise me if he starts on Sunday of this week. Wouldn't surprise me if he starts on Tuesday of next week. Wouldn't stun me completely if he started on Friday, but I think Hernandez will be that guy. I believe that the staff is going to lean on the older player there, but Arambidi has got every tool you could want. I mean, when you look at a catcher who is 6'3", 205 pounds, with a big arm and a powerful bat and the ability to move a little bit, like he can run a little bit, like he's really toolsy. He really is, and it's just a matter of when it clicks for him and he becomes the next great catcher at LSU. So those are the two guys most likely to be in that lineup. Then you go to the guys, I think, on the mound if you're looking for the next impact, and that, to me, starts with Kason Evans, 6'2", 195 pounds, throws 99 miles an hour from the Houston area, has a good changeup, and when you can pair a 99-mile-an-hour fastball with a good changeup, you're a handful. And I expect Kason Evans by the start of SEC play to be pitching in big spots. I think this kid has got the whole package as a pitcher, and I'm excited to see what he does this year. You know about William Schmidt at this point. Got some of the best stuff on the staff. The breaking ball is legitimate. The fastball was, for all the time I saw him pitch on Saturday, between 93 and 96. And that's in February. You're talking about a kid that continues to get into that strength and conditioning program, continue to work with the resources you've got at LSU. It's not unrealistic to believe that William Schmidt, by the end of the season this year, is consistently throwing 96 miles an hour with the most spin-heavy breaking ball on the team. Like, that just is what he is. He's an immense talent. And so those two guys are certainly worth talking about. And then the next two guys, I think, could find their way into some innings here and there. It probably starts with Maverick Rizzi, who is, 6'9", 255 pounds. He's from Massachusetts, and he throws very hard. Mid-90s fastball once again, with just all kinds of elbows and kneecaps flying everywhere because of how big he is on the mound. So that's a guy that the staff is high on. And then Cooper Williams. I think Cooper Williams profiles as a starting pitcher down the line. He's one of those left-handed guys, got a smooth delivery, can throw multiple pitches for strikes, never looks like he's in a rush, doesn't have that like max effort bullpen style wind up. He looks in control, and he doesn't have elite velocity because, look, you're talking about a kid who's 6'4", 200 pounds and left-handed. If you're 6'4", 200 pounds and left-handed, and you throw 97, you don't go to college. That's just the way it works. So with Cooper Williams, you're looking at a fastball closer to 90-91, and I think that there's more in that tank, and I think that he is probably down the list here behind Evans and Rizzi and Schmidt in terms of innings right out of the chute or this year. But I think you're talking about a guy that has the stuff to be a really good college pitcher. Jim Schlossnagle had him committed at Texas A&M. When he left to go to Texas, Williams opened things up, and it eventually ended up at LSU. If Jim Schlossnagle likes you and Jay Johnson likes you, I think you got a pretty good future, and I think Cooper Williams absolutely does. So that's kind of the guys I expect to have a role on this team, or could very well have a role on this team. I don't think Mikey Ryan or David Hogg has a role on this team, but I do know for sure the staff likes both of them a lot. Mikey Ryan is a 6-foot infielder who went to Rummel. David Hogg is a Houston native. He's 6'2", 195 pounds. He switch hits. He's a good athlete. He plays good defense. Those guys are behind, I think, your Danny Dickinsons, your obviously Braswell and Milam on the left side, even probably Tanner Reeves. But they're young. They've got some ability, and I think they'll get some mop-up time here. And then you got the other two freshmen. Ryan Costello really swung the bat well in the fall. That was not necessarily considered a big draft risk, but you look at him, he's 6'3", he's left-handed, he profiles as a big power-hitting first baseman, and you love those. You've got one right now who's that and some, but Costello could be that next guy. You're talking about a guy who, with a year in the weight program, could be opening day next year, 6'3", 225, hitting left-handed. Like, that's a big boy that's ready to do some damage. So I'm curious. He will get some at-bats in mop-up time. Costello will. I don't know that he's in line for any DH time or anything like that right now, but he stung it in the fall, and the staff wants to see him hit. So I think he will get some mop-up time at-bats. And then you got John Pearson, who is Josh's brother. And that's kind of where their similarities start. They're both Jay Pearson, and that's about where the similarities stop. Josh is officially listed by LSU as I pull him up here. Josh is 5'10", 190 as a senior. 5'10", 190. John is 6 feet, 248. He's got 60 pounds on his 3-year older brother. And John is a power hitter. He wants to hit it a long way. He doesn't necessarily have a position. First base is blocked up a little bit. He's working at third. He works a little bit in left field, although I don't think that's a future. He's got to learn to play third base. If he learns to play third, he's only 6 feet tall. If he learns to play third base, he could be a draftable prospect. But if you're just talking about in terms of LSU, he feels like a guy that maybe breaks into the lineup as a sophomore and potentially could be a 4-year guy. Kind of like Josh was. Josh broke in as a freshman, had some big at-bats there in his first year on campus. But John's a big dude, and he can hit it a long way. And that's kind of going to be his role when he breaks into the lineup, but it's going to take a year for him. So that's your 10 freshmen. You're looking at Cade Arambidi, Derek Curiel, William Schmidt, Maverick Rizzi, Kason Evans, Mikey Ryan, David Hogg, Ryan Costello, Cooper Williams, and John Pearson. That's a look at your freshman class. Let's take a look at the athletics college baseball polls. A lot of LSU flavor in this, including best pitcher all time, best hitter all time. Maybe not who you're thinking about, but we'll do all that when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. Every car that is on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. If you think luxury, think Genesis of Baton Rouge. And if you think luxury, don't immediately think, I can't afford that. Go see them. First of all, the dealership is absolutely first class. The great ambiance. It's an incredible facility. The team is fantastic. You can get some work done in there because it's quiet. Got great Wi-Fi, incredible coffee setup. Snacks are available as well. And they've got an incredible line of vehicles. So get by and see the brand ambassadors right there on Airline at PQ. And get behind the wheel. Let them show you what the difference is in those Genesis. You'll see every bell and whistle that you're looking for. It's comfortable, it's stylish, it's sleek, it drives fantastically, and it's very, very safe. All the way from the sedan through the SUVs. And every vehicle from the entry level to the highest end Genesis comes with the same safety features. So they're never going to short you from that perspective. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. Go see them at Airline and PQ or online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends March 5th, 2025.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and Citizens Bank and Trust want to help cover your car payments. It's a $5,000 grand prize with a bonus chance to win free car washes from Benny's Car Wash for 6 months. We're also letting you earn extra entries by subscribing to our LouisianaSports.net daily newsletter. To sign up, visit 1045ESPN.com.
Okay, so this is done by The Athletic, and I'm going to keep this pretty LSU-centric here because that's obviously what the marketplace is. I was fascinated by the whole thing because I pay closer attention to college baseball than most people do. But this is Mitch Light at The Athletic. He talked on the record to, I said 8 previously. It's actually 10 college coaches. Elliott Avent at NC State, Willie Bloomquist at Arizona State, Paul Maneri now at South Carolina, Nick Bengioni at Kentucky, Billy O'Connor at Xavier, Brian O'Connor at Virginia, Kevin O'Sullivan at Florida, Steve Sabins at West Virginia, Brock Ungrit at San Diego, and Mark Wazakowski at Oregon. So currently 10 coaches. He asked them a series of questions. And one of them was, who's the best position player in the country not on your team in 2025? And Paul Maneri said, I'd have to go with the player that I recruited to LSU, Jared Jones. Most of the guys outside of that went with Jace Laviolette at Texas A&M, which I think you'd be hard-pressed not to go to. I think Laviolette right now is the favorite to be the number 1 overall pick. He can steal bases. He can play center field. Hits for a ton of power. He was an LSU commitment at one point, but ended up not at LSU and has done pretty well over there at Texas A&M. Now, best pitcher in 2025 was interesting. Two of the guys, Maneri included, went with Gabe Gackle at Arkansas. That's a name that you'll want to know. Kevin O'Sullivan went with Gabe Gackle as well. Sabins from West Virginia went with Zach Root, who is now at Arkansas, transferred from East Carolina. So 2 different Arkansas pitchers made this list. This is where it starts to get interesting, though. The best position player you have ever seen in college baseball. Now, Paul Maneri was asked this question. And I've been in Baton Rouge for Maneri's entire career in the SEC. And I have seen everybody that he has seen in the SEC. And I was just surprised at Paul Maneri's answer. He said, I guess I might have to go with Alex Bregman. Alex Bregman was freaking awesome at LSU. He won the Brooks Wallace Award as a freshman. He was the number 2 overall pick. He was on 2 awesome teams in 13 and 15. And he was great, fantastic. But I have a hard time suggesting that Alex Bregman was better than Dylan Cruz, who Paul Maneri just watched. He coached him for a year and then watched for 2 years win a national championship. For reference, Bregman in his career at LSU, and I realize it was a little different era. Bats were a little bit different. But you're talking about a guy who at LSU hit .337 with 21 home runs in his career. And Cruz, over the course of his LSU career, had 58 homers and hit .380. And they were both elite defenders at their position. Bregman was a bad shortstop his freshman year. He made a lot of errors his freshman year, but it was his first year playing shortstop. He grew into it, and by the time he finished, he was a great shortstop. Cruz was a great defender the whole time he was at LSU, started in right field, and then moved over to center, and was fantastic. They were both the second pick in the draft. They're both great players. I would have a hard time picking Alex Bregman's LSU career over Dylan Cruz's, and that has nothing to do with a national championship. That's just the power numbers, the average numbers. Cruz got on base every game the last year that he played. He hit .426 his last year. Dylan Cruz hit .426, okay, in one season. Bregman's best year would have been, he hit .323 his last year, .316 his second year, and is a freshman. This is when he won the Brooks Wallace Award. He hit .369. So still, I mean, that's great. .369 as a freshman. He's a career .330 hitter. That's awesome. Cruz hit .426 this last year. So that's where I would go. Had some good answers for that. Nick Mingione said Alex Bregman as well. And Nick Mingione played against Dylan Cruz in the Super Regional 2 years ago. And he went with Bregman as well. So that surprised me that 2 of those guys would say that. Buster Posey got a lot of run here. Jack Caglione was O'Sullivan's pick. I don't have a problem with that. That guy was a freak. Adley Rutschman was a pick as well from Oregon State. Who's the best pitcher you have ever seen? As you would imagine, Paul Skeens got some love here. Paul Mainieri said, I would love to go with Aaron Nola, but I have to go with Paul Skeens. And that makes a lot of sense. Trust me, I did a segment on this show where it was like midway through the 2023 season, and I did a segment was, if I had one game to win, would I give the ball to Aaron Nola or would I give it to Paul Skeens? And I said, we had like 6 weeks to go in the season, I would give the ball to Aaron Nola. And my reasoning was, Nola always got you through 7, 8, or 9 innings. Always. He had a stretch of 4 SEC weekends where he threw a complete game 4 weeks in a row. And Nola did that every time out. There was never an instance where Nola went 5 2/3. It just didn't happen. And Skeens was striking so many people out early in the season that he was coming out of games after 6 innings. A lot. It was happening a lot early on. And I was like, well, I'll take the extra 6 outs and I'll go with Nola. By the end of it, I had changed my tune. Skeens blossomed into the most dominant pitcher I've ever seen, and he is clearly my pick. But Nick Mingione, who saw Paul Skeens in the Super Regional 2 years ago, went with David Price. Now, I can't tell you that's a terrible pick because David Price was the first pick in the draft. And David Price pitched for a really long time in the big leagues. But again, I would have to think that would be Skeens. Brian O'Connor said Steven Strasburg and Paul Skeens. He also added Chase Burns in there. Kind of a cheating answer, but 3 guys that were really, really tough to deal with. Kevin O'Sullivan did go with Paul Skeens there. And then I thought an interesting answer by Ungricht, who was at Stanford when Trevor Bauer was at UCLA. And he said, we beat Garrett Cole on Friday night, knocked him out of the game in the 5th inning, and our guys saw him really good. He was throwing 95, 96 at that time. And then Saturday night, here came Trevor Bauer. We had a bunch of guys in that lineup at that time that were really good, and we struck out 18 times. I'd never seen anything like it. Having Garrett Cole and Trevor Bauer as a 1-2 punch is pretty salty. And, of course, LSU ran into that team in the regional. LSU didn't face Cole. They only faced Bauer in the second game of that regional. But you saw that team. Having those 2 guys, that's pretty salty. And then Wazakowski threw it way back to Mike Messina when he was at Stanford. And then one other answer that I got that I thought was interesting was who's the team that might surprise some people in 2025. And Paul Mainieri said Lamar, which, of course, Will Davis is the head coach over at Lamar. Will played for Paul and then was on his staff for a few years before he took the job at Lamar. So I think just kind of Lamar's been great the whole time Will's been there. He's done an awesome job there, but I thought that was kind of a random answer that was one he might have a good feeling on because he has a good relationship with Will Davis. So to me, I'm trying not to be like super petty, but the fact that none of these guys said that Dylan Cruz was the best player that they had seen was a little bit surprising to me, especially Mingione and Paul Mainieri, who said an LSU guy, and it wasn't Cruz. And maybe I'm taking crazy pills here. Maybe I'm maybe my feeling is not one that is shared by everybody, because I feel strongly that Dylan Cruz was a better college player than Alex Bregman, and I thought Alex Bregman rocked. And if I had to have an LSU shortstop on my all-LSU team, he's probably second behind Brandon Larson. I'm not trying to slight Alex Bregman when I bring this up. I'm just trying to say that I think Dylan Cruz is the best position player I've ever seen at LSU, and to suggest that there's another LSU player that played this recently that is better than him, I just don't agree with that. So I thought an interesting deal when you get coaches on the record like that. They're not in the middle of a season, so they can be a little bit more candid. I enjoyed it. It's a cool piece on The Athletic. If you're a subscriber, you can go check that out and see all the rest of those folks' answers that aren't quite as LSU and SEC-centric. I'm a big college baseball guy, so I enjoyed checking that out. You certainly can as well. I mentioned this a couple times throughout the show, and I'll continue to mention it throughout the week. I'll be out at Alec Box Stadium noon to 2 on Friday. So we're going to change up our schedule a little bit. OTB will still be there from 7 to 10 right here in studio. Then we'll go to Rufino's an hour early from 10 to noon for Live at Lunch. Hunt Palmer Show, noon to 2 from the box. And then Matt will go long with the 4-hour AFR from 2 to 6 on Friday during LSU and Purdue Fort Wayne from the box. Weather looks okay. Looks like it'll be in the 60s with some clouds. Hopefully the rain stays away and we can enjoy a pleasant opening day out there at Alec Box Stadium for LSU baseball. All right, we got 30 minutes to go. Come back with us. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com is the website. Security, pretty important. maybe the most important thing, security of your family and your home. For us in the Palmer House, we trust Mitchell Fisher and his team at Audio Video Security Solutions. We had him come out, told him we wanted to put some cameras in. He determined where those should be, looked over some pricing, said that's the ticket. They were out there the next day, got all those cameras put up. They supplied the equipment, did the installation, and they've been in charge of the customer service ever since, and it's been phenomenal. I can look at my front door and my back door 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I can pause, I can zoom in, I can rewind. Don't pay any cloud storage fees at all, and if there are any issues, just call Mitchell because I got a cell phone number. It's an easy, and fantastic relationship that we've got with the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions. They are on Instagram at AVSS_BR. And, of course, they're online at AVSSLA.com. It's Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends March 5th, 2025.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Some reports starting to circulate about potential movement with the New Orleans Saints and their coaching staff. One name that is being reported as a potential target for the New Orleans Saints as far as offensive coordinator goes is Kevin Patullo. Jeremy Fowler from ESPN is reporting, look for Philadelphia associate head coach, pass game coordinator Kevin Patullo to receive strong consideration for both the Eagles and Saints offensive coordinator jobs. And that makes a lot of sense. He's been there for the last 4 years. Nick Sirianni has had a good working relationship with him. Kellen Moore joined that fold earlier this year. So obviously, like, I've never heard of Kevin Patullo until 30 minutes ago, candid as I can be. But I can read a bio and I can put dots together here. Here's what I think this situation boils down to. When you look at the opportunities in Philadelphia and New Orleans, okay? Philadelphia is in a position right now to go on a real run. You've got Jalen Hurts under contract. You've got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith in their prime. Saquon Barkley didn't exactly look like he lost a step this year. Get what I'm saying? Like, you've got a great offensive line. Like, that is an offense that is set up over the next 2-3 years to be excellent. And if you look at the Saints, you've got a quarterback that is either going to be out the door in this offseason or next offseason. You've got an offensive line that's been banged up and not super productive. You've got 2 wide receivers coming off significant injuries. You've got a tight end position that's got some moving pieces, and aging Taysom Hill. Alvin Kamara's in pushing 30. Like, you don't have quite the candy store in New Orleans that you would in Philadelphia. So if this comes down to, okay, Coach Patullo, you want to coach that offense or you want to coach this offense? He's going to pick the offense in green, not the one in black. That seems easy to me. But as you understand, there are different layers to this. Keep in mind that Patullo was on staff this past year as the pass game coordinator and associate head coach. And the Eagles still went out and brought Kellen Moore in to call the plays. So maybe Patullo would look at Nick Sirianni, who apparently he's got a great relationship with, and go, well, you didn't want me last year to be the play caller. Why this year? I'm spitballing here, but I'm trying to make the case for the Saints because I've laid this out initially, and there's no chance in my estimation that you would leave Philly for the Saints if you're just talking about whose offense can I coordinate to score more points. But if you feel like you can have a loyalty to Kellen Moore and he can give you more opportunity than Sirianni was willing to give you last year, maybe that is someone you could bring to New Orleans. I couldn't tell you if he's great at calling plays or not. I can look at his bio. You're looking at a guy who played at South Florida and has been in coaching since 2003. He's a 20-year vet of coaching. He's been with the Chiefs as an offensive assistant and quality control coach. Same thing in Buffalo, where he coached the wide receivers as well. Coached wide receivers in Tennessee. Quarterback coach with the Jets. Wide receivers coach with the Colts. Passing game specialist with the Colts. Pass game coordinator with the Eagles. So never saddled with the whole workload over the course of 20 years, but has certainly worked with a lot of coaches, worked with a lot of quarterbacks, and has now got real live experience with Nick Sirianni and with Kellen Moore. It kind of feels like, based on the reporting, that you're looking at either Kevin Patullo or, I always want to say Garrett Nussmeier instead of Doug Nussmeier. I have to catch myself every time. Or Doug Nussmeier. Those are the two guys who Moore worked with most closely with this offense. Now, Sirianni's an offensive guy, too. He was the offensive coordinator with the Colts before he went to Philly. But you feel like the real brain trust on the offensive side, as Sirianni was kind of running the whole thing 30,000 feet, was Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator, Doug Nussmeier coaching quarterbacks, Kevin Patullo working with the wide receivers and passing game specialist. So the Saints' only chance here is that there's a relationship play and what Patullo would consider an opportunity to move up in New Orleans. Does he take that opportunity? We'll see. Candidly, I'm not as concerned with the offensive coordinators, with the offensive coaches that Kellen Moore hires. Certainly it is important. I don't want to dismiss it to nothing. I'm more concerned, more interested in what he does on defense. Because as I said at the top of the show, and as I still feel, Kellen Moore is going to be the offensive identity of this franchise as long as he's the head coach there. It's the same way you could feel about Sean Payton. It's the same way you could feel about Dennis Allen's defense. Did you really care that much who Dennis Allen's defensive coordinator was while he was the head coach of the Saints? Not as much. And especially in a situation where you've got Kellen Moore calling plays. Like, I need an offensive coordinator that's good at this. but it's not as important as the other side of the ball where you're going to kind of let that person run the show. And so I will continue to cover these things and we'll continue to analyze them. And I feel like as we sit here today, there's a better chance that Doug Nussmeier is the offensive coordinator of the Saints instead of Kevin Patullo. Just start to float me some more defensive names. And if it's Brandon Staley, it's Brandon Staley. That's completely fine. But that's the side of the ball that I'm most interested in seeing develop, because you've got that identity and a pillar there on the offensive side, which I feel good about. You can criticize the Kellen Moore hire for the optics of of how it happened. You can criticize it based on the fact that he hasn't done this at this level. You can criticize it on the fact that he hasn't run an organization before. It's hard to criticize him as an offensive mind. That's the part of it that should certainly translate if given the proper personnel. But the defense is where you've got to get it figured out, because we know that when Sean Payton was in New Orleans and he had the right defensive coordinator, say what you will about Greg Williams, but that worked. When he had Dennis Allen, when he got the right defensive coordinator on the other side of the ball, man, it was humming. When you got the wrong guy, it didn't go well with Spags. It didn't go right with Rob Ryan. You got the wrong guy, it spiraled. So to me, show me who the Saints can find on the defensive side of things, and then I'll start to feel a little bit more strongly about the immediate future of where the organization is headed. So if you missed that, Kevin Patullo being rumored to have interest from the Saints as well as the Eagles. I think Doug Nussmeier very much in that conversation as well. We'll just see what Kellen Moore decides to do, and we'll see also when he is scheduled to meet with the media as the official head coach of the Saints sometime this week. We expect to hear that news. So we'll step aside. We got one more timeout to go. We'll play some Take It or Leave It, and we will get on down the road. It's a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Safety is a big deal in the bathroom. It can be a hazardous spot, especially as folks age. Falls can be bad deals. And while you can never completely eliminate that risk, you can mitigate against it. Non-slip floors. You can have a tub to walk in. You can put a bench in that shower. Handrails around the slippery areas. Those are the things that David Vaughn and his team do all the time, and they are happy to help you with it. But you got to start that conversation with the free consultation. Tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you. Start that conversation. They're going to get it right the first time and leave the competition behind. Not one of those deals where they're going to do the job, make sure they get it done, get to the next check. You call them 2 weeks later, hey, this is not right. Can you come back and fix it? Oh, sure. That's not how it works. And they got a lifetime warranty at One Bath and Closets. They take their craftsmanship very, very seriously. That's why you should trust them. It's One Bath and Closets. Find them online at onebathandclosets.com. Onebathandclosets.com.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends March 5th, 2025.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
One 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge is your home for the New Orleans Pelicans. Tune in as the Pelicans host the Sacramento Kings Wednesday night at 7 p.m. and Thursday night at 7 p.m. They'll host the Kings again, a little back-to-back there for the Pels. Pels coverage is brought to you locally by Industry Makes. Also, as Hunt mentioned a little bit earlier, you can join him live from the box as we celebrate opening day for LSU baseball. Come out and watch a special edition of the Hunt Palmer Show from noon to 2 inside Fan Fest presented by Powerade as the Tigers prepare to open the 2025 season against Purdue Fort Wayne. It's opening day at the box with 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Trivia question, Beck.
Okay.
Purdue Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
What is their team nickname?
You know, the only time I hear Fort Wayne, there is a reason why, but anytime I hear that, I just think of the Fort Wayne Mad Ants, which was the NBA D-League affiliate. That was the team name.
Okay.
The reason I think about that is because I used to play a lot of NBA 2K basketball.
Okay.
And
with the D-League team?
Yeah, my when you start out as your player, you don't just start out as, a 99 overall player where you're really good playing for the NBA. You just start out in the D-League.
Okay.
And my player played for the Fort Wayne Mad Ants. So that's all I think about when I think of Fort. I have no idea who their mascot is.
It's actually kind of close to that phonetically, but it's not the Mad Ants.
Okay.
It's the Mastodons.
Oh, all right. What's the logo? I don't even know what you would have. It's like a dragon?
Elephant. With the tusks.
Okay.
So, Mastodons coming into the box.
Do you think you think they have a lot of those in Fort Wayne, Indiana?
They could. You never know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interestingly named schools in that area. You got IUPUI.
Yeah, well, first of all, Ooey
Indiana University, Purdue University in Indianapolis. And then you got Purdue, Fort Wayne, Mastodons. Just a lot going on over there. But yeah, I will be out in front of the box. Very much looking forward to that on Friday. We did it last year as well. Hopefully this season goes a little bit better than last year's did when we started the season from just outside the box. But it's going to be a lot of fun no matter what. Then into the press box for me, writing things up for LouisianaSports.net, which is a little bit of a change of a pace for me as well. But we've adjusted to it pretty well in basketball, and we'll do it again in baseball this season. So looking forward to all that. If you're looking for some baseball info, a little bit more baseball coverage, you can get that. Musso and I put out our season preview. It's now the third year that we've done that. Started off with a bang. Got it done with the national championship. First year we did it. Not as good last year, but got it up again today. So it's 40 minutes of me and Musso just going around the diamond, talking about the depth chart, talking about positions, some concerns that we may have, who we think will be the starting pitchers, closers, that kind of thing. So if you're looking for some more baseball content, check that out on 104.5 ESPN's YouTube channel, or it's been tweeted by 104.5 ESPN. I'm going to retweet it as soon as I get off the air. I wanted to let it breathe a little bit as Musso and the official handle tweeted it out, and then I'll give it a second, and I'll go ahead and get it up for the afternoon crowd a little bit later today. But it's up. You can go find it at 104.5 ESPN on Twitter or at 104.5 ESPN's YouTube channel. All right, take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Just take it.
Alrighty, first one here. The Mavs fans are still not happy about the Luka Doncic trade. Multiple fans were ejected in the second half of the Mavs' 129-128 loss to the Sacramento Kings on Monday at the American Airlines Center due to violations of the NBA's Code of Conduct, according to a team spokesperson. Each instance prompted boos from the crowd. Mavericks Governor Patrick Dumont, whose family purchased majority share from Mark Cuban, was loudly booed when he returned to his courtside seat with a few minutes left in the third quarter. Two of the fans that were ejected held large poster board signs that read "Fire Nico" in reference to their general manager, Nico Harrison. One of the men was seen mouthing "Fire Nico" on the arena video screens early in the game before the camera quickly panned out. You feel for the Mavs fans. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I do.
I'll take it.
You just don't see 24-year-old franchise faces traded in any sport. It just does not generally happen, and especially in that sport where having the guy is the most important thing. And it's not like it was like, man, this guy might have a lot of potential. They just went to the finals like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And then you trade, and then if you're the Mavs executives, the worst case scenario happens and AD gets hurt immediately. And it's just, you could see it coming. If it was a sitcom, this is exactly how they would write it. And yeah, I feel for him. Like, I don't think you ought to be throwing stuff at people or, chanting expletives, but you want to bring a sign, you want to voice your displeasure and boo, like, I'm not gonna get on you.
All right, next one here. The New York Jets, according to multiple sources, moving on from Aaron Rodgers, and reports are circulating their top target to replace him is none other than Falcons quarterback Kirk Cousins. Cousins in a Jets uniform. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it.
Leave it alone.
They just tried the washed-up quarterback, and it didn't work, so now they want to try the washed-up quarterback again?
I guess so.
I guess
sounds like something the Saints would do.
There's not a great option here. You're going to go with Justin Fields, or I don't know what you're trying to accomplish here, but look, this is the hardest thing to get right. The hardest thing to get right is to get your quarterback, and the Saints are wallowing in the desert here, and the Jets have been there for quite some time, and they thought they had it fixed 2 years ago, and they clearly do not. And I don't have a great answer for you, and I feel like Kirk Cousins is probably available based on the way that Penix played late. So maybe, but I don't think it's going to work.
Yeah, probably not. But it's the Jets. They like to make decisions that don't make sense a lot of times. So maybe they will bring in Mr. Kirk O'Chains. All right, last one here. Alex Bregman is reportedly likely to sign with the Cubs, Red Sox, or Tigers. He will not sign with the Cubs. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
The market would actually have to crater for him to be the Cubs.
The market has cratered a little bit, it seems.
It's cratering. But I feel like the Cubs are still going to wait that out. They feel like they've got their next third baseman there. Bregman's just kind of taking his time. He's not going to sign any sort of mega deal at 31 years old. He's just trying to find, I think, the right spot for a quality price. Someone will pay up. Most teams have not gotten to spring training yet. The Cubs have, because they play the Dodgers in Japan coming up. So I would guess Bregman will be signed within the next 15 days. And that's fine. You just got to stay in shape. I selfishly would like it. I think he would be a good ad, but you've got to tell me what the contract looks like. If it's some sort of 3-year deal for $100+ million, I'm completely out. If they can get him for 1 year at 18, sign me up. That sounds awesome.
But it seems like the problem right now is that he wants a 6 or 7 year, and nobody's willing to do that. So it's just going to become a question of who's going to be willing to give him the most money in a shorter contract.
And so that's what they all want. They all want that security of the years.
Maybe like a Cody Bellinger type thing.
And the Cubs, the market created for Bellinger, nobody would sign him, so the Cubs did there. So yeah, that'd be really cool if Bregman signed with the Cubs, especially since I got to deal with Skeens in my division now. But I just don't think they're going to bite that bullet when they've got their best prospect coming right there at that position. So we'll see. You think they're going to sign him?
No, I don't. Of course not. I mean, why would we ever think the Cubs are going to sign a big name player? They don't do it.
Kyle Tucker.
Yeah, that was nice, but that's the one. If they were to sign Kyle Tucker and Alex Bregman in the same offseason, I would be shocked, but also very happy to see that the ownership is actually willing to spend some money.
They traded for Tucker, so
Yes.
you don't get all the credit for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as the big expenditures, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But I'm just glad that there's like legitimate baseball in my feed. LSU's been scrimmaging for a couple of weeks. They play in 3 days. The Cubs are at spring training. That feels very, very good. And I realize our weather's been like in the 80s for the last 4 days.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really feel like winter, but it is winter, and I'm excited that there's baseball that is coming. So that's it for Take It or Leave It here on this Tuesday. Tomorrow's show going to be fun. We're going to start our weekly conversations with Koki Riley of The Advocate. He's covering the LSU baseball team again, so we'll talk to him on Wednesdays. Matthew Bruni's going to come aboard to try to make sense of this basketball team. We'll preview LSU and Arkansas is where they are, or they're Oklahoma. I can't even remember. That's where they are on this
basketball.
deal. I know that they're on the road this week at Arkansas and Oklahoma, but I don't know which one's which. I think they're at Arkansas tomorrow.
Wow.
Look it up.
I'm getting there. They are.
We're talking about it either way.
Yes, they are at Arkansas.
That's what I thought. So they'll be at Bud Walton at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. So we'll talk about that as well. It's a What If Wednesday, so plenty to do. And I would imagine some more Saints hirings will come out, and we'll get some information as to when Kellen Moore will meet with the media for the first time as the Saints head coach. So lots to do on tomorrow's show. If you missed any today's show, you can always catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound. Just search Hunt Palmer Show. Like, subscribe, rate, and review. Talked about Kellen Moore at the top of the show. Sharif Ishak gave his thoughts on the state of the Saints organization at 1:15. Glenn West talking hoops and baseball at 1:30. NFL mock draft from Field Yates has Will Campbell in the top 5. We talked about that at 1:45. About 30 minutes of baseball discussion, including all of LSU's freshmen. If you missed this, Jay Johnson announced his starting shortstop and third baseman. Stephen Milam will be your shortstop on Friday afternoon. Michael Braswell will play third base. That was courtesy of the folks over at TigerBait.com. We're done. Matt's going to drive you home next one after further review. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.